Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 5 in the photo critiques that I've been doing for followers over on my social media pages that send content in for me to review. And this one was sent in by, and I'm only going to say the first part of this name is Eugene, and I'll tag the rest here. He sent in this beautiful Mach 1. It's funny because I just recently shot one of these for the first time as well, and I love them. They are such a classic beast of a Mustang. But yeah, so anyways, let's dive into this photo. So the first things first, let's just kind of start with the car. The first thing I'm noticing, red might be a bad color because of this location. By the way, the location is very cool. I don't know what this is, but it kind of looks like some sort of modern architecture. It almost looks like that shipping container style. It probably isn't, but it looks very cool. It's a really nice building that you get to shoot at here. So the first thing I would look at, if we're going to start from the car, look at these little twisted metal wheels. That's pretty cool. Like you're going to get into a fight out in the road. But anyways, the first things I would try to do is I'd probably try to clean up a lot of these reflections. I pointed that out in a couple other people's images. This white car that's reflecting in here, it should be relatively easy to get those out of there. And and I'll go over things briefly each time I mention it. I'll do it very fast so you guys can maybe spend a little bit more time on it if you want to. But I basically select out something like this just because it's a little bit harder of an angle to do. I'd select something like this out and I would get a new layer. I'd sample. I'd want it to, that body line should initially be black, right? This is probably more true of what it's supposed to be. And then I get in there with a light brush and I would just be working at this, right? So now down here it should like start pumping in a little bit of brightness. There should probably be like an ombre of some sort coming from right here. Again, this needs a lot more work, but you can see where my head's going kind of. Might need it from the top down as well, something like that. Now we're, you zoom out and we're starting to get there, right? We're starting to get to where it needs to be. This is obviously a little too harsh, so you get your eraser tool or you layer mask this and fade that into that body line now. And that's already starting to look like how we want it to look. Obviously this little section right here would probably need to be like blurred, and that it shouldn't be a harsh line right there. It should be probably like right there. It shouldn't be a harsh line when you do this paint. It should like taper off to be a bit more smooth. But you'll have to play with that a little bit to get it to look right. This part's even easier essentially. I'm just gonna get rid of that other reflection that I drew in there, but this part should be even easier. I'm gonna do a really poor selection again really quickly, but this one, the reason why I'm saying it should be easier is it's a bit darker here. It should just kind of almost be black. And let's just get the selection going. And another way, like to, I didn't mention it before, but like it's gonna be harsh down here and that might look bad. Another way you could do is just feather your selection. So you go select, modify, feather, and let's put like a 2.75, I don't know, sure. 2.75 on it. And you'll have to play with it. That's why I'm saying I don't know, sure. You'd play with the feather until it looks more natural. We're going to select the black in there, and we're going to paint that away, like something like that. Obviously, I've talked about it in a couple of my older videos. When you do something like this, after you just paint, you can't just leave it like that. You'll have to come into Filter, go to Noise, Add Noise. You'll have to try to match the pixel with noise, right? So this might look too much, so let's do a 0.8. Okay, I'm liking how that looks. Okay, so then after you're done doing that, you're gonna go to blur and you're gonna just put a blur on that, and it starts to look pretty real. And when you zoom out, that car is completely gone. Again, probably need to do something with making that a little bit smoother transition. It kind of looks all right though, because like there's a weird little rim of white there from like whether it's a paint stripe on the road or something. I don't know, but so it kind of looks all right when you come all the way out here. It kind of looks perfectly fine. So I would go around the car. I would do some stuff like that to the entire side of the car. You might even be able to do something like very softly back here, and it can go a long way, right? It doesn't have to be transitioning it back to like completely black. Or completely whatever car you're working with. Like watch, for instance, if we take this section, even if we add like a little bit of darkness back there in just that specific region of the vehicle, you'll notice that it kind of is flattering, because, you know, a lot of times we use circular polarizers. We want to gain back what was truly there, or what the, you know, especially with black, it turns into a mirror, so it kind of disappears. So watch when we like select this out. I'm gonna run it on like a 4 pixel feather, and we'll just grab black, but we will do it at like, we'll work it in at like 25%, and we'll start from, you're going to want to start from the inside, because obviously there'd be rim light on your outside, so you want to start from the inside. And we're just going to take, even if it's that those reflections are going to still be there, we're just going to say, hey, you know, we're darker here towards the middle of the car, and then the rim light fades out. Now that's a little example, and we will take an eraser. This should be a layer mask, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to like bring the highlight back in a little bit. And now you're really like shaping the car, right? Now if we did, you know, this section here, if we did what we just did there on the back, we did this section and this section, the side of our car is looking much cleaner and less distracting already right off the bat. Now, you know, going further here, let's keep looking that side skirt. I'd probably clean up some stuff like this. And this crack here, it's reflecting cracks in the ground, which then looks like somebody took a knife and gouged it into the side skirt. So I would definitely try to get rid of those. And then overall, I would try to probably soften this up. I would pick one or the other. I'd pick this or I'd pick this. And what I mean by that is I would try to soften, go like 50% on a clone stamp, layer, and then I'd select here, and I'd just try to soften that, like that weird reflection that we were getting, just so it's like a little less distracting, right? Even that, even if it was just that, instead of that, it's this. Maybe you need to continue it over here a little bit. Again, you'll need to be very careful and not go over your door jamb and everything. But yeah, even something like that goes, I feel like it goes a long way. And yeah, those cracks definitely need to come out. In my eyes, those cracks would come out. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing with the car. The front end looks good. I don't mind anything on the front end. I think, you know, you went the extra mile on taking the plate out. I always had to deal with a lot of plates. I think we all do as automotive photographers. So, you know, one thing I would say with the automotive plate is, you know, maybe try to play off of something in the photo instead of it just being orange. There's nothing else that kind of matches that in the photo. Maybe make it red. What I like to do is I like to make it, you know, like it's a black frame or a white frame, and then I'll put like a Mustang, like I'll get like the text tool and I will write Mustang in there, or I'll go on Google and I'll get a PNG file of like the Mustang logo or the Ford logo or the Mach 1 logo. A Mach 1 would have looked really cool over there, just because from far out maybe you don't notice it's a Mach 1, but that gives you the opportunity to write, you know, in bigger letters, you know, you find the official Mach 1 logo and you're like, you know, able to write it here. Mach, oh my God, look at this, I'm writing with a mouse. Mach 1, look at that, it looks amazing. But yeah, so if it was like a white plate, the white would go with your color palette here, and then, or a gray plate, something muted, and then you write, you know, you'll have the Mach 1 logo and you could put it there, or 351 or something. So that's just an idea with the plate. If you don't have an opportunity to take it all the way out, because sometimes it is really annoying to take a plate completely out. You really don't want to mess with the front bumper of a car and have something be out of sorts. So that's what I would suggest with the front plate. Moving on to the image as far as the background and whatnot. I know a lot of people like to do this high key look. Personally, my style, I'll tend to put a little bit more contrast in my ground, and what I specifically mean is like all this and this. I probably would have added a little bit more darkness there to help balance the weight of the photo. Obviously the car's black, so you don't need to go overhand with it, but this ground is starting to look like it's white asphalt, or like a white concrete, which it doesn't look like it's white concrete. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, maybe it is this bright, which is that's pretty crazy. But I would have liked to get a little bit more contrast. I'm just looking at some of the darker points over here, and it does look like we would have been able to pull that contrast. So I would have liked to see that to help balance the weight of the photo a little bit more. This could be like a tile. I don't know. It's like some weird grout lines. It could be like a concrete white tile. So, you know, Eugene, mention down in the comment below if it was that bright of a ground or something, then you're kind of, you know, stuck working with that ground. The other thing I will say is we're getting like a weird blur, like it's a weird out of focus, and then this curb is in focus. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on there, and I guess that's maybe why I'm wanting more contrast, because of the depth of field choice there that we're getting. It looks like it's shot pretty shallow. So yeah, that's what I'd say with the ground. I'd like to see the ground a little bit darker here. I'm assuming that on the raw file you had the space to work with going like a full stop darker on the road or something. As far as the background goes, like the building, there is only a couple things that I'm noticing. Like I said, I really like the building. It's such a cool location that I kind of wish that like we pulled out a little bit on this frame. I don't mind that it's shot vertically, and with Instagram and the way things are posted nowadays, I understand vertical is becoming part of the game, and I wouldn't have mind to see this come out just a little bit and get a little bit more balance and space between the edge of our frame and our cars here. Like maybe if it's like double that space there, and it allows us to see more of the scale of this location. The location looks like it's a pretty big building, so that would have been cool to have it kind of fit in there as a little bit more of a lifestyle shot instead of a, you know, being so tight on it. And again, I know when I talk about composition, you guys may have shot that shot as well. So hopefully you did. Hopefully you got it. Lastly, about the car too, I might have, you know, tried to check out what it would have looked like to like darken the windows just a tad, like something like that. Obviously that's inviting blue into it, and that's really quick. You should select it better than that. But you know, you could obviously come in here, go to the blue layer, remove blue. There's, you know, probably a little bit of cyan in there, and remove that too. You know, just a little bit of a darker window. Probably like once you do all those reflection changes that I was showing you, you probably would want to add a little darkness to that window as well. But back onto the background. So the biggest thing for me, let's switch to yellow since we're writing on red. The biggest thing for me is that flare right up here. That looks like it was added in. That flare right here. I love flares. A lot of my work, it's very hard not to put a flare in there for me. But the issue I'm having is this beam, and then all the other beams basically have the highlight facing left, right? And this is essentially your shadows, right? So what that's telling me, and the reason why I'm highlighting them all, is light is coming from over here. So I would want to see that frame. I would want to see that flare come from over here. It makes more sense. Even your car is saying that light is coming from this general direction. Your wheels are really well lit, saying light is coming from that direction. Your hood and your front bumper is a bit darker, saying that light is coming from that direction. So I want to see that flare come over here and be lit from over there. So obviously can't take your flare out, but we can put in what that flare would have looked like, and we're going to go slightly warm like you had it, but pretty white. I'm going to switch this one to screen. Probably not yellow enough. And something like this. So in my eyes, that would make a little bit more sense. And now obviously, let's just try to darken that up just for our eye. I'll do like a soft light black pull on it. Yeah, I'd be looking at something a little bit more of that nature. Now, that's not obviously correct. I'm working off of your file here, but I would have the flare coming from camera left, where it looks like my light source is coming from camera left, and that would make a lot of sense. There's these little windows here too that are inferring light is coming from that way as well. So I'm going to erase that. The other thing I'm noticing with the building is these little these little windows or doors right here and right here. More specifically, the first one, you know, you could probably get in there with a really feathered out brush and select that out. I'll do it really fast just to show you guys. But I would have probably select this out. I'll put it on like a 2.5 feather, and I'd sample maybe just a clean white. And I mean, we're seeing like a tree in another building in there. I would have just done like something like that, maybe, just to take your eye away from it. Maybe that's a little too bright. Maybe I would have went with one of the darker ones on 50%. Again, this might be another situation where it's like you don't have to fully take it out, but maybe like tinting those little spots back there would have been interesting. Or, you know, sampling this other orange and just carrying it over, and now it's the same palette. There's like an orange tint on it, and then there's an orange tint on that one back there too, or something. I would have messed around with those windows a little bit to see if there was something I could do to mute that tree that's being reflected in the background there of the window. But yeah, overall, lastly, the other thing I wanted to talk about was, I usually do this in Lightroom, but I'm going to hit Shift Control A and bring Camera Raw up. And let's see if we can do it in here. If we can, I'll click over to Lightroom. So in Camera Raw, you would go under Geometry, and it's this upright. And I love doing this at the end of my photo. I love doing it in Lightroom. After my edit's done, you know, I talk a lot about having my architecture and my lines. Let me see if I can get this on another color for you guys. My architecture and my lines, I like when they're straight to my frame. And you can see here in this, it just falls off a little bit, right? You see how we're closer to the frame here and we're wider to the frame there, and vice versa over here, we're falling in, right? I like when those are kind of evened out and flattened, and normally you can, you know, when you're shooting, if you're very aware of it, you can get it really close, and sometimes you don't need to bother. But obviously, myself included, like, there's a ton of times I get home and you're just a little off, and if you come over here in Geometry, you're going to click the A, and it's just going to straighten it out for you. I'm going to click off of it, you're going to see it fade, and I'm going to click it, and it's going to basically stretch and distort just the top two corners and bring them in. And it basically helps really even out your architectural points and the perspective of the photo. And it's kind of like that last little polish that I'll put on the end of the image to make sure that everything's tightened up. So yeah, that is the last thing that I probably would do. As far as color toning goes, I don't mind the color toning. You have red here to play off of, so you're kind of letting that location take your eye in a certain avenue with as far as color going. You could play with the red a little bit. You can enhance it. We could say then, okay, I want our highlights to be warmer. I'm just messing around just to see where it could have went, with some different temperatures in case we needed it. See, with that yellow boost, this almost looks a bit raw, and as far as color tone goes, which that could be the look that you wanted. You wanted a cooler look, but I think the red does welcome a bit more yellow tone in the highlights of the image. I just want to see what it would have looked like with the darker foreground. Let's go soft light and just do a drag pull. Again, this is more so just to show you guys maybe what that would have looked like. Well, this got to go soft light. So like I would have maybe started with a darker image. I'm not saying that you should just drag soft light like I just did, but I would have, this whole portion of my frame here would have probably been a stop lower, and then maybe the boost the cars, leave the car how it was, but this whole section of the image would be a little bit more like a stop under, basically. But yeah, this I think helps you visualize the difference, and I feel like it kind of adds a little bit of mood. It kind of makes me want to take a curve and take the black point and like fade it a little bit, give it a little bit more vintage vibe. You know, see how you're just fading that out. I think that's a little too heavy because you're losing detail in the grill. But I think you get the idea, so something like that. Well, that's right back to 0. Something like 1 or 2. But yeah, so I mean, that's a little tiny little stylistic change that maybe I do. So yeah, that will wrap this one up. Again, Eugene, thank you for sending this in. Really enjoyed checking this out, and hopefully this helped a bit. And thank you guys for anybody checking this out, anybody liking, subscribing to the channel. Thank you guys. It means a lot to me. YouTube's kind of been a new thing for me, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of what I really want to do on this channel, and I'm excited to keep developing it for you guys. So hope you guys like this. Thanks, and see you guys in the next video.